Alright, so today we're going to take a look at how I mark your explanation question so that you know what kind of mistake you've made and that you will do a proper correction after that. Okay, the question was, using examples, explain the movements of continental plates. So because it says continental plates, that means that either one must be a continental plate, if not both of them. And the question demands for examples, so you must give the example. Now if you take a look at your friend's answer here, this is copied from your friend's work. It is entire chunk of paragraph. Now you must not do it this way. You must divide them according to the points. Now if you look at the previous PowerPoint slides, you will realize that there are 3 components to answering these questions. Okay, so before you continue with this video, please firstly go through the PowerPoint slides on explaining movement of continental plates first. Okay, so you know that you need to answer the 3 different kinds of movements are convergent, divergent, and transform movement. So I must see 3 separate paragraphs, not a chunk like this. Okay, so there's a problem with paragraphing here. Okay, let's begin. The first one, he is trying to explain the convergent movement of the continental plates, but I would encourage you to have an introduction, okay, like this. The continental plates can move in a convergent manner. Okay, and then in an explanation question you need to be able to define it. So convergent plates move towards each other. That's the meaning of convergent movement of plates. Now explain. So you have to give me reasons why. Due to the convection currents under the crust. Such convergent plate movements include the Nazca and the South American plates. Okay, so the example is correct, so I can give you what you mark yes, and you define it correctly, so you get a mark there. But the explanation is very poorly done. It is what I call the sweeping statement. You say that it is due to the convection current. Now what happened underneath the crust that caused the continental plates to be pulled towards each other? So you need to give me more details. Yeah, you got to talk about the magma is heated, it rises and spreads before sinking. Okay, so in the process of sinking, okay, it pulls the crusts above it towards each other. So I need very detailed answer on how this convection current actually caused the plates to move towards each other. All these are missing from your answer, and if need be, you can draw a simple diagram to support all this. Okay, so as a result, you cannot get the mark for the explanation, so you get only 1 mark for the example. Now the next one, you talk about the divergent plate movement. Okay, divergent plate movements, divergent plates move away from each other as the convection current under the crust spreads when the heat from the core rises all the way to the crust. So if it spreads under the crust, then what happens to the plate? You have to give elaboration, explain further. Now this is what's lacking in this answer. Okay, so the convection current spread, so what is the result of that? You're supposed to give a cause and effect. The effect of spreading of heat underneath the crust, what happens to the crust then? Then it helps to again pull the crust, continental crust, away from each other, causing a divergent movement. So you have to add that in. And then you say that the divergent plate includes the North American and the African plate. Okay, fine. The example you give, but you did not fully explain the cause and effect. You only got maybe half of it. The other half is missing. So you must be very, very careful. Okay. Now next, this should be another paragraph because it talks about the transform plates. Transform plates slide past each other. And then you give the example. Transform plates are the North American and Caribbean plate. You give two examples, not necessary. So you can get the mark for this, but this, if you look at the rubric for the marking, yeah, in the PowerPoint slide, you realize that only 1 mark is awarded for this, and because there's no explanation how the transform plates actually slide past. What caused them? Explain. What caused them to slide past each other? You did not explain, even though you get the example. Since only 1 mark is awarded, you don't explain, 0 mark. Okay. For this one, you get the mark. For the divergent movement, you get the mark for the examples only, but poor explanation, you don't get the mark. So all in all, 2 out of 5 marks. Okay. So I hope you have understood that it's important to show clear cause and effect and avoid what we call the sweeping statements. Yeah? Just merely mentioning it without elaborating is called sweeping statement.